I get yellow. Is there a...
Where are you sitting, Ken? Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to New Faces Rooted in Tradition. This is just one of our panels for today, giving you kind of a glimpse at the Hesston experience today. We have had a lot of longtime faculty and staff retire over the last probably decade, and it's been, we're always sad to see longtime faculty and staff move on. The amazing contribution that they've made at Hesston College. Is this working?
Hold up.
No. Okay.
Russell's coming.
Well, I can turn it on. Hello.
Mine's working.
I told them to turn on their mics, and I didn't turn on mine. Let's try that again. So, welcome. We are excited to have you here today. This is the New Faces Rooted in Tradition panel. We're going to have another panel following this about our biblical literature course, so I hope you stick around for that. There is coffee and water right outside, so feel free to grab that as needed. But this is just going to be kind of a casual, intimate gathering to hear about what the Hesston experience is like today. A lot has changed over the years, but there's also been wonderful things that's at the core of the Hesston experience that have remained. One of the things that has changed and naturally does is you have retirements of longtime faculty and staff. And, we're always very sad to see longtime faculty and staff move on because they have made amazing contributions to this institution. But the blessing of that reality is that it brings some new faces to campus. And so it's a sad thing and a positive thing all at the same time. So this is just some of our wonderful faculty and staff that are gathered here. Some have been here many years. Some have been here very, very few, if not months. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, what your area of expertise is here at Hesston College, your role, and how long you've been here. So if you could, and actually if you're an alum, if you could name that as well. So Jeff, why don't you start us off?
My name is Jeff Baumgartner. This is my 27th year here. I teach math, and I am not an alum.
But you sent 2 children.
I sent 2/3 of my children here, yes.
My name is Ken Rodgers. I'm a 1985 alum, and I think this is my 35th year. I'm not sure, but I think so. I do know that I'm institutional history at this point, so.
You are institutional history.
I am institutional history.
All right, I'm Kassidy Pflughoeft. I'm the volleyball coach here. This is my 4th year here, and I am not an alum.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joshua Cross. I am the art professor here. This is my 2nd year. I am not an alum of here. I went to a school nearby for grad school, Kansas State. But this area was always really close to me because of some other jobs that I had, so we came back.
I'm Dori Roth. I am a 1987 graduate. I'm the director of financial aid, and this is my 10th year here.
I am Chantel Cherney, and I am not an alum. I work in the nursing department, and I work with our seniors mainly. And I guess this is my 2nd year here. I started just with clinical, and then now I'm in the classroom also.
I'm Grant Myers. I'm the Vice President of Enrollment Management. I started here in January of this year. I'm not an alum, but I did go to a Mennonite institution right up the road, Tabor College. It's my alma mater, so I'm happy to be here.
Hi, Forrest Miller is my name, and Class of 1985 with Ken. We were classmates here. And I've worked at Hesston for 35 years too, like Ken. So Ken and I both started here and went nowhere. So that's kind of our motto. I work in the development office. I'm a development officer. I've also served as an admissions counselor here, as grounds manager and softball coach part-time. So done several things.
And my name is Rachel Swartzner-Miller. I've been here for a total of 15. Oh, I'm off again. Blue. Okay. I'm mellow. Yep. Rachel Swartzner-Miller, and I've been here for a total of 15 years. 2 years as an admissions counselor in a former life, and then came back as the vice president of admissions, and then 4 years ago transitioned into the vice president of advancement. I am an alum from 2000, so this is our crew today. So to get us started off, many of us have talked about the Hesston experience, and for me, I knew that I wanted to have this Hesston experience when I was in 4th grade. I came to Hesston for Thanksgiving, sat in the back of the church, watched this amazing talent show that happened at 11 o'clock at night, and my parents let me stay up for it. And I just vividly remember Dori Roth singing, screaming, whatever you want to call it, at the top of her lungs at the front, doing some crazy skit. And I was in the back looking on, and I just said to myself, this is where I want to be. I want to experience this. So they hooked me at a very young age. But you know, there's things that have changed about the Hesston experience. The Thanksgiving talent show, it does not happen at Thanksgiving anymore. It's at a different time and feels a little bit different. But there's many parts of the Hesston experience that do remain. So digging down into that a little bit, what are some of the new and exciting things that are happening within your departments that you would say are, you know, whether they contribute directly to the Hesston experience or indirectly? What are some of the new and exciting things in your departments, or just things that have changed a bit, but are still very much beneficial? So I'm going to pick on Forrest, because I'm sure he has an answer.
I have to look at my notes, though. Nobody else brought notes, I see. I would say one of the newest things that I really, and this is overall campus, not just our department, but I would say our diversity here on campus, and it's not new necessarily. We've had international students for a long time, but it just feels like this is a really diverse place, and I think it's awesome. I love it. Last night we had the Cultures Fair, and just seeing students interact and learning about the students that are here, I think that feels really good. Back in the 90s, when I was an admissions counselor, we had special emphasis on we need to recruit more diversity to our campus, and so we had initiatives on how to do that. Well, that's happening now. You come to formation on Monday or Friday, and this sanctuary is full of just a lot of diversity. So I think that's a new thing that I really like.
You want us to just jump in?
Yeah, jump in.
Okay, this isn't necessarily my department, but my department related. Something new on campus is the 4-year engineering program. So that would, I see a graduate back there who could have been, yeah, so that's new, exciting. Yeah, something, a change.
I'll talk a little bit about admissions because I'm kind of part of the admissions department, but we have a few of us old timers. I don't know if 10 years is old timers, but a few of us alum that are there. But we also have a brand new, a lot of 3 new admissions counselors. And I really like having some alum and some new people, to giving a new perspective and a new way to just approach admissions. Because, and I think maybe we'll talk about this a little bit, but it does, there's a new way to do things. And I think, we all like to oh, this is how I used to do it. But I think sometimes it's better to have more voices at the table to see, what can we do to promote the Hesston experience, and I like that.
And just to play, go ahead. Just to play off of that a little bit, the recruitment of individuals has dramatically changed over the decades. So, Dori, were you heavily recruited to come to Hesston College?
No. I came to Hesston College because I, too, attended about 4 or 5 years of Thanksgiving. Families coming in because my brother came here. And I knew I just wanted to come to Hesston College because I had so much fun, and that's what I was. So I wasn't recruited.
And if I can pick on Grant, the Vice President of Enrollment, do the majority of students just show up because, they were always planning to come here? So
They do not.
So tell us a little bit about how do we recruit students today? How do they hear about Hesston College? Who is coming?
Yeah, so recruiting in itself hasn't really changed, and what I mean by that is it's all about a relationship and starting and building a relationship with a prospective student and their family. That's stayed the same for years. The degree of outreach, though, of us having to go out and actually start those relationships and drive those relationships is what's really changed over the years, and particularly in the last 10 or 15 years. And that's not just Hesston, that's every college around the nation is going through the same thing. So technology is a huge thing that's changed with all of that. I mean, if we just look around, we all probably have a phone in our pocket. And that's, I'll date myself, but back in the year 2000, it was like very few people had cell phones. But now it's like everything. That's the portal to that relationship that you're going to start with a prospective student, whether it's on a social media feed, whether it's through an alum texting us the contact information, or one of our development officers is on the road and they run into someone, they'll send us contact information, and it's all digital now. Our goal, though, is still to get to that point with a student where we can actually have a conversation and build a relationship, establish trust, and sell the Hesston experience.
Kassidy, do you want to talk a little bit about what it's like recruiting within athletics?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that the student that we're bringing in, since we are going after the student instead of them coming to us, where that's how it was, at least from the stories that I've heard, just making sure the students that we are recruiting are going to buy into the Hesston experience. I mean, everybody talks about how it's such a community-based college and how we are family-oriented, and everybody needs to buy into that, and making sure that all of us coaches in the athletic department are going after students that are still going to buy into that rather than the society that we are dealing with. And so just making sure that we're getting those students that are wanting to be involved and wanting to have that community feel and building those relationships and have a faith-based Christianity as well. So.
Great. Are there others that wanted to share about what's exciting in your departments?
There's so much exciting stuff happening in nursing. We do our own kind of recruiting also, and we use technology. So I can talk about all this, but we use simulation quite a bit, and I know Greg and Nikki McGee, she's also a new face, but she's not up here with me, will be participating in open house tomorrow, and they're going to be showing a lot of the simulation that we do. And we're also using virtual reality now, and we have headsets with different scenarios to help facilitate learning. We have students coming in with a high technology IQ, and so we're trying to match their expectations and just facilitate learning any way that we can. But I know they use technology a lot as a draw for recruiting students.
I can speak to the fine arts. Are you going to speak to the fine arts? I'll speak to the fine arts. So the fine arts department, it's, we have music, theater, and art. And it's one of the exciting things, multiple exciting things, has been seeing how we can use what we have. One of my favorite sayings is, do what you can with what you have where you are. And it's a small school. We're kind of landlocked. It's not like we can just go annex some land and plant new things. And so using what we have to the best of our abilities. Theater and art, we are establishing a new workspace, okay? And theater and art, we're gonna share the wood shop. Finding new ways of combining what art does with what music does, with what theater does. So this coming Wednesday, we have over 80 students coming in from local high schools and junior highs for Theater Fest. And they'll get chances to audition, they'll get chances to sing, how to act, workshops. They get to learn how to make their friends look like they got beat up from me. So it's using the materials we have and the skills we have to be able to create that experience for the students, to give them opportunities. A lot of folks may look at a small school in rural Kansas and be like, what's there? And it's like, well, everything's there. I know it's on the banners and everything like that, where you go everywhere. But there is mass amounts of truth in that. That was one of the reasons why it drew me to the school. The second I hit campus, there was like this vibe of like, okay, people are pulling in the same direction. Let's see what we can do, even though there may be limits in what most people think we can do. Thank you.
And I'm going to pick on you, Josh, just a little bit, if that's okay. So Josh came into a department with a lot of history and a lot of tradition linked to the art department. We all think of Paul Friesen and the legacy that he left within that department. And so Josh, as someone new coming in, how have you felt that tradition? How have you experienced it? How are you connecting to it? But yet, how are you creating new?
I walked into a baked-in legacy, deeply embedded, baked-in legacy. When I was looking for jobs, and when I was researching this particular job a little over a year ago, you can't go very far without typing in the words Hesston College and finding Paul Friesen if you put the word art in there. And so I'm like, all right, who's this guy? Who's this guy? What does he do? What did he do? And after I researched more, I'm like, okay, I like this guy's, the cut of his jib and how he worked, the sharing of gifts, the using the gifts you have and the talent you have to kind of pass along a message. It doesn't have to be about, I'm making art to glorify myself. I'm just making these things to put out in the world. It is, how can I use this to help other people? How can I tell stories? How can I build skills beyond just art? Communication skills, hands-on skills. And so I'm like, yeah, this is something I can get on board with. And so when I moved here, I got here on May 31st of 2022. Paul died on May 30th. And so that was weird because I knew they were in the process of changing things and moving things about and we needed space for the engineering program. Engineering, nursing, athletics, art, music, they need very specific spaces to work in. Like you can't just have, like I have to have running water in my classroom. I just have to. I have to be able to make a mess. I can't tell the students to be like, you can't make a mess and you can't make noise. Let's just go with it, okay? And so they were really, from the beginning, it was, hey, what do you need? And so I was like, okay, this is refreshing. Let's see what happens. And they had a plan, and there was mechanisms in place to make that plan happen. But there were questions, because everything in Friesen had been put in this one room. Everything in Friesen had been put in this one room. Paul's entire life had been put in this one room. Tools, emails, letters to self, notes to self, past student work, his work. And so I looked at it as this big giant scavenger hunt, because what I wanted to do when I moved here, I was like, I need to meet this dude. I want to meet this guy, because I had heard that he was here in town. And then when I got here about a week and a half later, it came out that Paul had died, and I was like, oh no, what now? But I got to figure him out a little bit, and that was really kind of cool. I got to kind of see articles and videos that he had made, and sermon-esque type of videos that he had made that he would do and go around to churches and talk about the clay and the potter and creation and those sorts of things. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then there was the question of, his family name is all over this campus, all over this campus. And they had put a whole lot into the art side of things, and we were transitioning out of that space, because engineering has to have a very specific spot, and they have to have a little more space than just a tiny little classroom. And so a building's a vessel. It's a place. I have told people for years that I could teach all of my classes outside. Technically, I could. I don't want to, but I could. You can teach painting outside. You can teach drawing outside and use nature as your vehicle. But a building is a vessel, and what's important is not the actual building itself. It's the ideas that are in that building and the ideas that get conveyed through that building. And I never got to meet the man, but I think we have kind of a similar mindset in terms of our approach and the way we see students and the way we see creating things and how you can use that. And so hopefully, it's October 2nd. I got an email. I got an email the other day from Ben. Construction starts October 2nd. There were people, I have yet to meet them. If you're in this room, thank you, that said with the engineering program, hey, we want to make sure that art has a space. And they said, make it happen. And so we're making it happen. So it's going out to the right-hand side of Peachy. It's going to be what used to be the daycare. And we're talking sculpture gardens. We're talking 2D studio space. We're talking sculpture and ceramics space. We're talking workshops shared with theater, gallery space. So the physical entity building may be used differently, but the ideas and everything, we're going to try to see if we can keep them the same. At least that's the plan. So,
Thank you, Josh. What would you say are things that during your time here, or if you're a newer person to Hesston College, what has changed over the years that you can kind of point to, and recognizing that there's some in the audience that were here in 59, 73. I mean, it's not just what changed in the last 10 years, but what do you think has changed over the decades?
So I think one of the things that's interesting is that people are recruited to something that they are doing. Mostly that's either athletics or something in the fine arts, or perhaps they're wanting to increase their English skills and things like that, so they're international students coming for a specific program. But they're recruited either to a program or to some kind of activity that they're scholarshiped in. And I would say that that's something that has changed in the last 15, probably 20 years. When I was a student back in the day, I had friends who played volleyball in the fall and softball in the spring, or played soccer in the fall and played something else in the, or it did cross country at a different time of the year. And so you're 2 or sometimes even 3 different sports that they're involved in, or they're doing that, and they're singing in choir, or they're doing the play or other stuff. And that's just who you did. I mean, what you did. And so I think that's one of the real changes, that you are recruited to something. And that is I've heard it called your affinity group. That's who you're with. And so I think in the past, mods were really important, that you lived in your mod, and those were the people that you ate with and you did stuff with. Mods are very different now. When you go to the cafeteria, people are eating in their teams, or it's really hard to kind of break out of that. You have very specific kind of groups that you're with, and you really identify with that group. And so I think that's something that's changed. I think it's is kind of a challenge to how do you break out of those things. But there's also, I think there's probably some positive things about that too, that you're coming and you're really committed to that particular thing. But that's a dramatic change that has happened. And sports are year round. You have your season, but then you have your off season, and I don't see a whole lot of difference between the two sometimes. You can talk about that. But so that's one of the things I think is just a huge change. And the other thing is, I would say, clubs are something that has become something more important in the last 5 years or so, especially since COVID, maybe the last couple of years. And so there are some things that feel like they're more active, maybe than they have been recently. My office is right above the space, the campus worship space, and Sunday afternoons at 4 now is when campus worship happens. They used to always meet on Sunday nights, but students like this, they're like, I have stuff due, on Monday, and they realized that about 6:30 on Sunday night. And so they've just moved it to the afternoon, and there's lots of, it's student run, and there's a lot of energy around that this year. And it changes from year to year about what's exciting in those kind of clubs and stuff. But another example is, we had a dance team, that there were just a bunch of people who wanted a dance team. So they just started it. Or the disc golf club, that we had a great disc golf course put in. And now we've added another 9 holes, so we have 18 holes, and there's just a lot of excitement around that. So a lot of times, student energy and demand help drive what we're doing. And I think that's a positive thing, the more we can listen to what students want to do. And I think that's a thing that maybe hasn't always happened in the same way in the past.
And I would say, just the activity options have changed. So, you think about disc golf. 50 years ago, it's like, what? You're going to play Frisbee? Like, what is going on? And I even remember when we talked about adding a disc golf course, in my head, I'm like, what? Who does this? And I'm eating crow, because everybody does this. So it's a really neat thing to see the different activities that students are engaged in. And Woody, do you have something to add?
Well, I was just going to mention from my days in facilities, the amount of pranks that were pulled each year has really dropped off, sort of as technology has come about. Back before cell phones, there had to be some sort of creative outlet, I think, for students. And from a facility standpoint, I'm very fortunate that the pranks fell off, because we had to do a lot of cleanup sometimes on some of those. But yeah, I think too, the way students, like when I was a student here in the 80s, I made a point of calling home to Kelowna, Iowa to talk to my parents, maybe once every 2 weeks, I don't know. And I would usually call in the middle of the night, because I knew they'd be home, first of all. But I think now there's so much more connectivity with cell phones students are probably in touch with their families and parents on a daily basis, maybe even hourly. I don't know, but and so I think just the technology has really changed. I've seen that change over the years that I've been here. Not saying that's good or bad, but I just think that's brought on a lot of new things. Yeah.
Others have anything to add? My favorite question is I want to know why you're excited to be a part of the Hesston experience. What are the stories that you hear? What are the relationships with students that you have? What are the what keeps you energized to be at Hesston College, working at our mission, vision, and values?
I think I'll go. I think the biggest thing is the fact that when I applied for the position, I was very welcomed with open arms, and just the diversity of the students and the diversity of just all the employees, and making sure they're all welcome with everything. I think one thing is to keep in mind is just the fact of everybody is changing and the culture is changing and society is changing, but we're growing with that. We're keeping the history with us, but we're growing with the history. We're not leaving it behind. And I think that I really like that because it allows us to grow and to learn and develop new things along with knowing what we had in the past. So I really like that as an employee. So, yeah.
I would just say, I came to Hesston College to work at Hesston College because I love this place. I used to be a high school business teacher. I taught for 24 years in secondary education, and I would tell kids, I came to Hesston College is the best 2 years of my life, and so I want to also share that and be able to get to know students in a different way, from even an educator to if I can help people enjoy the Hesston experience, and at least kind of let them know what my experience is like and things like that. And so I just, this has always been a great place for me, and it's continued to be a great place for me to work, and I want to carry that through and help more and more students experience that if I can.
And scholarships is a big way to help them.
Yeah.
So we appreciate
They like to get to know me a little bit better.
Dori's well-liked.
Well, I have something I'd like to read, actually, and this is why I'm excited to be a part of Hesston College. We received in the development office, right before Christmas last year, a gift from a student that had graduated in 2016, so about 7 years ago. She was in the disaster management program, and she came from Parsons, Kansas, non-Mennonite, came to Hesston College to learn about disaster management. And she wrote this note with her check, and it just sort of I think it just really captures what we're all talking about as part of the experience. So let me just read this real quick. When I think back on my days as a student at Hesston, I am filled with so much gratitude. The faculty and staff taught me so much. They helped me to dream more, do more, learn more, and become more. I will always be grateful for the kindness, support, and encouragement I received. I do not think I would have made it to graduation day without them. Their belief in me means more than they will ever know. It was their light that ultimately pointed me back to God. He's the one who deserves all the credit, and I am thanking him now. So that to me really captures what the Hesston experience is, and that's why I'm excited to be a part of it.
I think I'm excited to be a part primarily because my Christian education basically saved my life. My time at Tabor College, that led to a very meaningful relationship with Jesus, and I feel like I was called here, and this is a ministry for me and a way to kind of use the skills that God's given me to actually give back in a meaningful way and be a part of a Christ-centered community. I think, more and more, if we look out in our broken world today, we start to stand out even more all the time. There's no other time in history that we're more needed in this world than right now. And just the unique niche that Hesston has in that landscape is something that I'm incredibly passionate about.
I quite enjoy finding art scenes in places where most people think there isn't anything there in terms of quote-unquote art. The way I was trained when I was studying art was you can be an artist from anywhere. You don't have to be in the obvious, New York or LA or London. You don't have to. Now it's even easier because they can do it all online, basically. You don't have to go to galleries and say, please look at my work with slides and that sort of thing. And finding those scenes, those little places where people are being creative in all sorts of ways, not just painting and drawing and that sort of thing, but everything, cooking, woodworking, quilting, things that people don't raise to the level of art, capital A. I like being in those types of places where you can kind of prove people wrong, that there's some actual really, really creative and really, really good things going on in loads of places that most people just kind of drive by on the highway type of thing. And I saw that here. I saw that at my last school too, but I definitely saw that here. And with the connection to the Mennonite church, full disclosure, I'm not Mennonite, but I did like the approach, and I did respect the history of art within that area, because it's an interesting one. It's not straightforward, let's build giant cathedrals and that sort of thing. It's, maybe we'll start out a little functional and we don't want to get too over the top. Maybe we'll do a little singing, no instruments, and then we'll see what we can do. But there's a load of creative energy and creative power in those areas. And so that's what brought me here. That's what I'm excited about, is trying to promote that.
I am excited to be here for lots of reasons, but I had teaching experience before I came, and I left that institution feeling kind of sad, honestly, about the education system and where things were going, and I also felt called here to Hesston College, and part of the reason they drew me in was the culture between educators and students. Where I came from, it was very us versus them, and it was difficult to navigate those waters. Whereas here, it's very compassionate and it's very nurturing, and we do everything that we can to help our students succeed. And that is something that I wanted to be a part of, and I'm glad I'm here.
I would say that probably the things that get me excited about being here are the things that got me excited about being a teacher in the first place. If someone comes to you and they don't really know how to do something that they're trying to do, and you can help them understand something that they didn't know before, I mean, that's a feeling that you can't, it's great to get paid for that too, and also get that feeling at the same time, to feel like you've helped someone solve a problem. New faces rooted in tradition. I worked with a lot of good colleagues over the years. I still work with a lot of good colleagues. And so other people have kind of said that too, that that's what's so exciting about the place, is I think, yeah, exactly. We are all working towards a common goal and put our students first. And yeah, that's what got me excited about being here, and that's why I still am.
I would say I would echo what Jeff just said in regards, a perfect example happened just 2 days ago. I was going to see one of our professors in the science and math department, Morelby Mosqueda Jensen, and her and I were walking towards her office, chit-chatting, and there was a student sitting outside. And she said, "Oh, are you here with a chemistry question?" And the student said, Yeah. And she goes, "Okay, well, Miss Rachel can wait. Come on in." And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I wanted her to say. And she did it without hesitation, because one thing that has remained the same at Hesston College is that it's about the students. It's not about, how much research we've done or how many degrees we have or who has the most influence or it doesn't matter. It's about the student, and Miss Rachel can wait. It doesn't matter my title or what I do. It doesn't. They come first. The added great part about that example is it wasn't even her student. This student just, Morelby's just so friendly, so I think I'll go ask Morelby for help. And Morelby didn't hesitate to assist her. And so that's the thing that also, it's amazing. One thing that has kept me here for 15 years is the mission statement that we educate and nurture students in Christ-centered community. And I love that educate and nurture are on equal footing, because I would say we have exceptional professors and an exceptional academic curriculum. And those professors are also exceptionally kind to our students. Our staff is exceptionally caring to our students. The way we operate with each other, treat our students, it's about that nurture piece. And we also nurture each other, which is just such a blessing to be at a place that's, when you come to work. I don't worry about Ken being mean to me. It's, we're in it together, the joys and the challenges.
I think something I'll just say that I'm just now realizing this right now. I had a verse pop into my head that I think would describe my experience interacting with folks here at Hesston just in the last 8 or 9 months, in particular to just serving. And I don't remember what exact verse it is. I think it's in Matthew. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but came to serve others. And I think that really probably sums up how I've experienced being a part of the Hesston community.
Thank you all. Any final words that you wanted to get in before we see if there's any questions in the audience?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, let's go to questions.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure.
Any questions out there? Anyone have a thing that you want to know, a tidbit, a fact? Yes, absolutely. One moment here. Let's get our first question.
When you recruit athletes, are they fully scholarshiped, and where do they come from?
Well, frankly, they're not fully scholarshiped, but no, they are not. They still pay, quite a bit, but the benefit of that is the fact when we do recruit, they are from literally everywhere in the world. We don't have a specific, a specific spot that we recruit from. It's literally anybody and everybody, but we make sure that they are buying into the Hesston College experience, and we are getting those kids that are really going to buy into our program as well and help grow the college.
But you have certain computer databases that you can search for students. You have, you're not necessarily going to games and watching.
Yeah, indeed. So technically, kind of how Grant was going off, a lot of it's over social media now. A lot of people have just social media platforms. A lot of them, we go off of websites. There's sites that you can pay to get information. It's not really the ones how it used to be from the stories that I've heard of. It's your aunt's daughters, or it's family-based. It's more or less we are reaching out socially and making sure that we are getting the kids who fit Hesston.
So now if you're a high school student and you want to be recruited, you create kind of your
Social media platform, pretty much. Yeah.
And then the
that's-
coaches find you through that, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
And Dori could speak more to the scholarshiping side, but we do not have any students that are on a full ride scholarship, as they say. We do have a lot of competitive scholarships for academics, athletics, performing arts, art, variety of special endowed scholarships connected to academic programs. There's also grants and loans that they can get as well. We try to make it affordable, and because the cost of education obviously continues to increase. So that's something that accessibility, we want to keep that a part of what we try to do in financial aid. Other questions? Speaking of which, Dori, what is the sticker price, which no one pays? Everyone gets some sort of scholarship, but what is the sticker price these days?
It is $41,680.
So feel free to give towards student scholarships. Other questions that you have? That's for 1 year. Yeah, so that's room and board and tuition and a technology fee, which...
Miscellaneous fee.
What did you say?
Miscellaneous fee.
Oh, sorry, yes. So...
Just changed.
Okay. So, yeah, tuition, room and board, and fees. How many majors do we have that students can choose from? I'm going to say...
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Majors?
So there's about 50-ish majors that you can choose from, but our 4 bachelor's programs are
53.
Are specific.
We're saying 53.
Great. Are specific bachelor's degrees.
Sold.
Other questions? One fun fact. I'm going to pick on Ken. Make a guess. Where are there more students from, Albania or Ohio?
Albania.
Yep. That's a little fun fact. Anything else?
That was a softball.
I know, sorry. Well, thank you all so much for coming. You can stick around for our session, our panel, or our Nick and Michelle and Nick Ladd and Michelle Hirschberger are going to join us here in a bit to talk about the history of the biblical literature course, what's happening with that, how they teach in the 21st century, and just, all the good things that they have to share with us. So that'll be happening at 3 o'clock. There's about a 10-minute break. You can find the restroom, refill your coffee, get a breather outside, and come back and join us if that fits in your schedule. So thank you so much. Thank you, panelists.